the significance of El Sistema Casta in Afro-Latin American history. If you're curious about the complex history of Afro-Latin America, you might have come across the term El Sistema Casta, or the Casta System. Let's break down what this system was and why it's so important in understanding the history and social dynamics of Latin America. The Casta System was a hierarchical social classification established by the Spanish during their colonization of Latin America. It began in the 16th century and continued until the early 19th century. This system categorized people based on their racial heritage, combining European, Indigenous, and African ancestry. Imagine a society where your social status, rights, and privileges were determined by how much European blood you had. At the top of this hierarchy were the Español, or Spaniards, who held the most power and prestige. Below them were categories like Castizo, Mestizo, and Mulato, which were determined by the mix of European, Indigenous, and African blood. This system was not just about categorizing people, it was a tool to maintain European superiority. The Spanish implemented laws that only allowed white individuals to hold certain positions, reinforcing racial discrimination and social inequality. For example, individuals of African descent were often marginalized and victimized by institutional discrimination, forced to assimilate into Spanish culture by becoming Latinos, or Spanish speakers. One of the interesting aspects of the Casta system is how it created a complex image of racial mixes in Latin America. There were over 40 classifications, with some people being able to change their status through marriage, occupation, or other means. For instance, Pedro Huizar, a mulatto, was able to become a don or Spanish nobleman in 1793 by acquiring skills and integrating into Spanish society. Despite its official dismantling in the 1830s following Latin America's wars of independence, the Casta system's impact on society persisted. It left a lasting legacy of social hierarchy, with those of Indigenous and African descent often at the bottom. This system enforced stereotypes and racial biases that still affect Latin American societies today, with many Indigenous peoples continuing to fight for more rights. Understanding the Casta system helps us see how colonial powers shaped the social, economic, and cultural landscape of Latin America. It highlights the ongoing struggles with racial inequality and the importance of acknowledging and addressing these historical injustices. So, the next time you hear about the Casta system, remember, it's not just a historical footnote, but a significant part of the complex and often painful history of Afro-Latin America.